what's up, guys? This is round 2 against Tani Adewumi, Tani Toluma. This kid's a little bit famous. He's, I think, from New York, my home state. And honestly, I think he's really good. Very interesting experience. I think we'll talk about it more throughout the game. So it starts out with a Con Sicilian. And one thing I do know about him is he's Peter Svidler's only student. And Svidler is a super strong grandmaster, 2700. Honestly, a gangster, pretty funny, does stuff for Chess24. And his openings are really strong. He's known for the Grunfeld, the Khan, and I think definitely some other stuff. But I know the Grunfeld and Khan, he's basically like mastered. One cool thing about the game is I know Peter Svidler is going to be able to see this game. So I was trying to do my best, and whenever you play someone a little bit famous, you try to go a little bit extra hard because you know more people are going to be watching. So knight b3. So here, I want to go knight takes c6. I was honestly just kind of a chicken, and I was like, let me just do what I know. And honestly, I'm kind of realizing that a lot from these games. I'm falling into these tendencies because I'm scared to do new things. And the reason I'm scared to do new things is because I didn't practice enough. And the funny part is I actually do practice this position a lot with my training partner, Gunnar. And we get these crazy games, but I guess it was a tournament, so I was just going to play conservative. Kind of do what I know. So this setup, I kind of get every time. I might have to retire this setup, or at least mix it up. Sometimes you get beautiful games with this, but then from this tournament, not the best. So knight b4. Knight b4 is an annoying move because this bishop has a lot of checkmating ideas on h7. And when he takes it off, he's not going to get checkmated. But I continue, rook takes, and I try to get this big center and then just start moving all my pieces towards his king. So knight d1, I'm trying to migrate e3 g4 or f2 g4, something like that. He goes a4, and generally what you see is black plays on the queen side, white plays on the king side, and it becomes either a race to I checkmate him, or he breaks through here and everything falls apart. So knight d4, e5, and this is when I see this tactic of this rook getting stuck. And I'm like, no, please no. Because bishop c8, and where does his rook really go? So first thing, where do I put my knight? I don't want to come back, so I want to keep moving forward. I can't take here because he has queen check and he picks up the knight. So knight f3 is kind of, I'm forced into it, but then you're going to see him be dancing for a sec. Take, and now the rook is really getting trapped because bishop c8, and where does the rook go? Here, here it's getting trapped. So now I'm not in panic mode yet, but I'm getting a little bit scared. So knight f2, bishop c8, and I go rook h6. This is what we call desperation. And this is kind of marking, even the first game kind of had it, but defense is really, really important. I think every single game, not every single, but a lot of them, either I was losing or my opponent was losing and one of us came back and either evened it or like even went on to win and get a good position. So here I'm surviving for my life. e5. This idea I didn't like so much from him. I thought he had some more triangle variations, maybe king here or maybe even open it up because he's got these two bishops and my position's a mess. But if he locks it up, he's gonna give me time to recover, and that's kind of like what you see in fighters. Like sometimes they get this guy hurt and then they don't go for the finish, and then after 5-10 minutes the guy recovers, comes back, and then he finds the finish. Or it hurts your moral when you've almost beaten someone and they come back. So right now here he should really be going for the kill because my position's such a mess. But when he locks it up, he gives me a lot of time to get my pieces back. And here, so here he missed a really cool idea, d4. So d4 is a pawn sacrifice, but if I take and he puts his bishop on this diagonal, this is going to be so annoying for me. At some point, he's going to get his queen here too. I'm going to have to worry about checkmate the whole game. And all these pawns are weak, the center is completely opened up, and I have no attack. And my rook's on h6. Like, why is my rook on h6? So, once again, like when your opponent is hurt, go for the finish. Don't give him too much time, but then at the same time, don't get wild and crazy. So it's a balance, and it's not an easy one, but it's a very important one that everyone needs to learn how to master. Okay, so rook d8. I go rook c1 first. I wanted to go d4, but I looked at some of his games from the past, and something he does pretty well is he gets good positions, and then he simplifies into endgames that basically he can't lose, and he can kind of torture his opponent. So if I went d4 here, I did not like queen c4. I thought queen c4, and now if I trade queens, my rook on h6 it's almost like I'm down a piece. These pawns are going to be weak, and like let's say for example, if he can do this, this pawn is going to be a huge target. So I went rook c1 first to take away his trading idea, and then I went d4 here. Now this is when I start getting time to attack on the king side. So here I went rook h4, rook h3 is supposed to be better. Honestly, these are some of the toughest like decisions for me when you have two moves here, and I can't tell which one's better. You'll see some more throughout the tournament. Rook h3 is better. Sorry, rook h4 is rook h3 is better. I think the idea is at some point I can get my queen h4, and I guess this rook is less of a target on h3 than h4. So I go rook h4, and honestly here both of us don't really know what to do. We're just shuffling our pieces, kind of waiting for the right moment to strike. And you're gonna see that by a lot of, like, you see I go bishop f2, and then I come back this way because I realize like the bishop on f2 is not as good because now his knight can come to these two squares. And then here's kind of when the momentum starts to shift. Like here, I got the optimum position. His queenside play is not really made any progress, and I've made a lot of progress here. I'm ready to open up and try to go for some kind of tactic, some attack. So, I mean, if you look over here and then you look over here, like you can see there's a huge difference. Here, position's open, position's a mess, and then you skip forward to like here, and now I've kind of rallied the troops and I'm going against his king. All right, so here I make this, I thought it was a cool move, b4. My idea is if he takes, I go bishop here, and now my bishop comes in this way, very annoying for him, and his pieces, and now actually his pieces are a mess. If you look at this coordination, I mean, these pieces are just like all over the place, not sure what to do. So I think another thing I wanted to do with b4 was to stop him from going b4 and bishop here. I thought that was really annoying as well. This bishop was not really doing anything, and the bishop here could be really annoying. It hits the knight, and at some point he can come here, that bishop would be a monster. So I go b4, he goes f5, and now I'm ready to strike. Now he's opened up the position, and I start seeing kind of ways to make progress. So take, remember, on your strong side, my strong side is this king side, I want to open it up. So in general, that means trade off the pawns if you have the chance. So I take, he goes here, and now I start migrating this way. And this is when I kind of start getting the breakthrough here, and on knight g4. Knight g4, and he's kind of surrounded, knight h6, knight f6, everything is starting to become a threat. And I think around here, he had like 30 seconds, a minute left. So he doesn't really have time to like figure everything out. So this, here, h5, and here, knight h6 was winning, king h7, and just rook g3. The idea with rook g3 is now I can do this, and there's just no attack on the rook. It's such a quiet move in a crazy position. I was looking at knight g5 and everything, and I was like, man, I don't really know what's going on here. It's too complicated. Let me just keep it simple. So I go rook f1, keeping it simple, obviously, adding more, and it's just like one of the many crazy positions I got from this tournament. It was honestly like a very fun tournament based off the positions, but a little bit stressful too. All right, so knight f6 check, bishop takes, pawn takes here, and then knight e5. So bishop e8, and here rook g3 is actually really strong. And the reason why, kind of blowing my mind, is if here I just go rook takes g6. I'm like, what? When I saw this, take here, and he just can't do anything. He can't stop f7 check. There's no way. Even like queen e8, I just go knight e5. And that's just how strong my pieces are. Now the coordination is flipped, and you see like his king is weak. I have a lot of pieces by his king, and the eval is totally on my side here. So knight e5, queen c7, and then I would just go f7, and now I'm just winning. I have checkmate. I think he has to sack his queen, but instead I went f7 here. He has to go here, because if he goes bishop takes, I just go rook f3, and this guy's a goner. He can't defend it. So he sacks the exchange, take here, and even here it's not that easy. This, and he's fighting. Like there's still fight left in this position until he goes here. He goes here, he runs to the bathroom, and I'm just excited. I'm like, yes, king h7, because what he misses is, I mean, not a crazy tactic, but just queen takes rook. Queen takes rook here, take, and then he goes on to, he just resigns here. Because it means down a rook, then my rook's going to go ahead and take everything. So honestly, really crazy game. It's with kids really young, it's kind of hard to tell, like, is this guy too much hype, or is he a prospect, like, what's going on? And I will say, like, he played really well. It was not an easy game. I mean, out of the opening, I wouldn't say a dead loss, but I'm losing, and I have to really fight my way back. And if he went for the killing blow, if he waited a little bit less, I think I would have been in trouble here. But he gave me enough time. I rallied the troops, and then I was able to go out ahead and win this game. So that's round 2. Bouncing back from a really tough round 1 where my Archangel got cracked. The opening I don't lose with, the opening I always win with, I won. And this game honestly got me really close to the edge. Because if I had lost this game, man, that would have been rough. 0-2, lost to 2 lower rated. It's really hard to come back from that. So this is a much needed win against honestly a very tough opponent. And now I'm moving on to round 3.